Sunshine of Your Love by Cream, another classic riff. I'll run through the notes and I'll see what we can pick out of it. This single note riff is a great riff for new players to use to get used to crossing different strings. The riff starts on the D string and descends down to the low E. This can technically be played with a single finger, as the riff is not that fast, but it's good practice to get used to playing these sorts of riffs with multiple fingers. Yep, you could play it with one finger. I think I said on the last video I did in this series, the Deep Purple Smoke on the Water riff, it also said on this article that you could play it using one finger. Usually when they say one finger, they're referring to your first finger, because that's what most of us go for, is our strongest finger, and it's usually our most dexterous finger, so we tend to start with that one. You can play it just using one finger because it's slow enough to allow us to do that. I'm uncomfortable doing that, but I'll give it a try. So hopefully you can see, by doing it with one finger, okay, I only have one finger to concentrate on, but again my hand's moving up and down, different positions a lot. It's not efficient, and there's not really any reason to do that. Much better as an exercise, as a practice, to play it using all the fingers you've got available to you. It'll be smoother, you'll be able to play it more comfortably, and essentially, once you've got over the challenge of using different fingers, if that's something that you struggle with, it'll be a lot more beneficial to you. I always tend to mention something called positional play. So if I can keep my fretting hand in one position, I tend to like that because I'm not moving all over the place. I can't actually do that in this riff, even the way that I've chosen to play it, using all my fingers, because it just doesn't work out. I've got to change position at some point. I'll try and show you where that is. I'll start off with my hand in the 10th position. So 10th position, my first finger is covering sort of like the 10th fret there, and my other fingers will just work one fret per finger from that point. That is okay for the first, I think, 6 or 7 notes of the riff, but for the final 4 notes I've got to change position down to the 8th position. So I'm going to play the start of the riff, my hand's going to be up at the 10th position, and then for the final 4 notes I'm going to move my entire hand position down to the 8th position. I'll see if I can show you why that is. If I try to keep in the same position, it's just not going to work, so I'll play a bit slower. I get to there, which is the 10th fret note on my 6th string, and then I'm a bit stuck because I need to play it down on my 8th fret, which is below that, and it's going to be a little bit sloppy for me trying to change position there. So rather than have that problem, that 10 note that I just played, that last note, rather than using my first finger, that's the point where I'm going to change positions, and I'm going to use my 3rd finger, and my hand's in the 8th position, which sets me up. I can play the 8th fret note and the other 2 notes again using my 3rd finger on the 10th fret. The less you need to move up and down, the better and the easier it is for you. So again, I'll try and play it once using the 1 finger technique that is mentioned, and then I'll try and play it once again with using the 2 position technique that I've played it through with originally. Hopefully you can see the second of those repeats. There's a lot more efficient way of playing it rather than having my hand all over the place. There's one more thing to mention on this riff that it's showing on the tab. It's optional if you're just learning it to begin with as a riff, but you'll notice that the 3rd note from the end, which is it's actually an F, it's the 8th fret on your A string. If you look at the music, there's a little wiggly line above the note, just like a little squiggle, like that. What that means, I'll do a separate video on this altogether, but for now what that means is we apply a little bit of what's called finger vibrato to the note. So I'm going to play the note, in this case it's my first finger on my 8th fret on my 8th string, my 5th string, that note. Rather than just having the note play at a continuous pitch, I'm just wobbling my finger slightly to give the note a shake, if you will, and just give it a little bit of movement. So it's a straightforward note with a bit of vibrato. Sounds a bit like a wobbling, sort of a warbling. Effect. Just by shaking my hand a little bit like that. It is an acquired technique. It's something that you'll probably have to practice on. Again, do it slow. I'll do, as I said, I'll do another video and demonstrate it in more detail just on that technique. But for now, if you can do it, great. If you can't do it, leave it out, and I'll cover it later. But it just gives you a little bit of flavour before you turn around and do the riff again. Something that's commonly used, but again, more interested in the riff for now, just the notes and playing it through. If you don't get the vibrato thing, just play it through straight without it, and we'll come back to that later. This is Sunshine of Your Love by Cream.